Hey guys. This is actually the first time I've ever streamed before, so forgive me if I'm being a boomer about this, but we'll get it set up. Let me pop this out. Hey, what's up? The audio is quiet. All right. Let me. How about this? Is this better at all? I'll keep cranking the gain on my microphone until it gets better. That's good? All right, cool. All right. Is it still good? What's the agenda for today? Well, I've got a few videos that I've actually got. What's up, David? There's a few videos. Yeah, it's probably just the Mac. It's freaking out. It's all good. Anyway, I got a few videos that I got planned. I've been really busy just with life stuff lately, so it's been kind of tough to get on and do stuff. But I got a couple things that I think would be kind of fun to do. So this is tentative, don't take my word for it. What I'm going to try to do is stream a little bit of this every morning, probably just like an hour or so before I have to go to work, just to knock out some of the stuff. But what it's going to be is kind of like recreating old retro games, like doing the first level of old retro games. So let me pop up something I've been working on. So if you guys can see this, it's the sprite sheet for the main character for Contra 3. I used to love this game as a kid. So what I thought would be fun is going through the process of how I'd recreate the first level for these types of games, because there's a lot of really cool concepts. There's a lot of really cool engineering that goes into stuff like this, a lot of cool math. So I think people would enjoy seeing this, especially like the entire beginning to end of how to do it. So, okay. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback. Seems like people like it. Purpose of using a Mac. I don't want to, I'm sitting outside in my garage right now. I have like a shop out here, and I like being outside instead of being inside. And I don't have a Windows laptop. So that's the main reason. Takes a lot of time when people send. I don't know. I think that's typical of YouTube chat from what I've seen in previous stuff. So I wouldn't worry about it. But let's see. All right, so let's get started, because I'm going to give myself an hour. Probably stop about noon. So for the first thing that I'm gonna have to start doing, by the way, this is all using Gunslinger, guys. So the framework that I've worked on in the other videos, it's gonna use the exact same thing. I actually have one or two people in the Discord right now that are using Gunslinger to create some personal projects. So I could use this as a way to be able to show that off as well. It's basically just a small framework. It has quite a bit in it. It's basically A really easy way to be able to get up a platform layer, graphics layer, create a window with a GPU context, and just kind of go with it. Let's see. So first thing I'm gonna have to work on is creating an asset management system. And I'm gonna start working. So if you guys have any questions about anything, let me know. I'm usually pretty bad about talking while I work. I'm very much in my head, so start asking stuff. I'll get to it. Teach OpenGL. Yeah, I've thought about it, Vincent. I've thought about actually finding the time to make an OpenGL series. I think currently, whenever you look up OpenGL, the Noita video I did is one of the top ones still, which is interesting. I think Cherno is right above me. So if I could dethrone Cherno with an OpenGL video, I'd love to. But again, it's just finding the time, man. It's finding the time and what I think would be interesting for people and useful for people. So yeah, I don't know. If more people would totally be interested in that, that'd be cool. More unusual. Sometimes people do. There's a tendency to pick mostly simple stuff. Yeah, man, Lucas, and it's also a factor of being consistent and being able to put out interesting content regularly, right? So it's got to be a balance between, like, I could go with Command and Conquer. Yeah. That would be an interesting one. Could definitely do some of the 2D versions, like the isometric stuff for it would be interesting. Totally. But again, there's like simple shit that people have trouble understanding, right? So like how to set up an asset management system for a 2D game, right? Like even in the Discord channel, people are confused about that all the time. And it's just kind of, to me, it's basic stuff, right? Because I've done it so many times, but I understand that there's a lot of beginners and even intermediate game engine and game programmers that just don't understand what goes into making something like that. So it's kind of core stuff like that that I think would be interesting to really kind of touch on. Not necessarily much, Contra itself. I mean, yeah, it's using something like Contra is it's the hook to get people interested, but really the core stuff underneath it is what I think most people would find useful, at least. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, so let's see. Right now, easy multi-threaded. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I think as well. Shout. But again, there's still confusion on how to do even the basic one, right? Something with UUIDs and be able to actually like taking raw resources and being able to format that for your engine so that you're not going through like raw texture data whenever you load up a game, something like that, right? Anyway, so this is compiling for C++ because it's going to be, anyway, the agenda for right now is I need a sprite sheet manager, right? So this needs to be able to load in, sprites. What's up, Unity? and I need to be able to take like a sprite sheet or take individual sprites, format them to where I can drag them into an atlas or take an existing atlas and then create sprite regions that I can then use the utility that I'll write as like a header file to be able to take that information and grab that data and be able to use it in game. You can do this all by hand. I can sit there and go into an image editor and pick out the UVs for all this stuff, but it's a pain in the ass. So what I'd rather do is write a small utility to be able to use that. So let's see. I need some music. Kind of. Hello, Emil. I really hate the UI for Spotify. It's awful. Just take me immediately into my music. Oh, man. Thanks. And again, this is a first stream, guys, so this is going to be just completely all over the place, but we'll get it set up. All right, no patience. Yay fam, Uniday, aren't you the guy that posted his engine on Reddit yesterday? Yeah, Uniday and I have kind of been buds for a while. He's much more prolific than I am. Uniday is very consistent with putting out content and working on stuff, so trying to be more like him, because that's how you get successful. All right. So again, for now, I really don't care about audio. This is just going to be textures. That's all I care about. Yeah, Uniday, if you could post the link to our Discords, that'd be cool. So here's one thing I do normally. I do sketches like this, so I'll just drop in some comments and then just start deciding how I want the API to look, how I want everything to feel. And then once I'm happy with it, I'll kind of commit to that and test it out. Texture. think I need to define. Yeah, Unity, I need to do that. Let me do that. If you're talking to me, yay fam, yeah, I enjoy making tools more than anything. So that's definitely a valid criticism. But this right now is focusing on actually making a game for the purpose of a video. What's the hash? Is that right? Yep. Oh, God, I am gooey. What do I think of DirectX? It's good. I currently don't have a DirectX backend right now. I just have an OpenGL backend. Actually, let me. So this is that's not Gunslinger. Where is it? Yeah. So this is actually the Gunslinger framework right here. Has an example folder. Again, this is what I used previously for all the other videos. And at its basic level, it has a platform interface, graphics interface, and an audio interface currently. So that takes care of the majority of what you need for most multimedia applications. The way it works is you have an application description, you fill that out, fill out certain flags and certain information that hint to how you want your application to run. The engine then creates its own contexts, registers those, then it creates a global engine context that you can grab anywhere throughout the program and be able to do certain things. And then for the graphics layer, everything follows kind of what the machinery follows, which is creating these APIs that can be filled out. So they're just structs that have just a ton of function pointers in them. And if you want to make your own implementation that goes through and fills all this stuff out, you totally can. Right now, the only one that's currently available with the engine is the OpenGL one. So no DirectX one yet, no Vulkan, nothing like that. I need to do an OpenGL ES one because I'd like to get this working for Raspberry Pi. Anyway. What do I tend to lean more towards? OpenGL, just because it's cross-platform. Oh, quads versus matrices? It depends, man. So your GPU doesn't know how to do quads. So you have to pass up matrices. And it just depends on what the application is that you're trying to do. Why'd you choose C instead of C++? C is better. C doesn't hide anything from you. C++ has a lot of hidden stuff that the compiler does and that the language itself does, and I can't stand it. All right, so we need some way to be able to load in textures from file. This is what I want to kind of get done today. I've got 45 minutes, so I'll see if I can do it. I want to load in textures from file. I want to qualify the names, the file names, so that they can be unique qualifiers I can use as identification. And then I'm going to hash that into a 64-bit integer, use that as an ID, and then store the texture data in the hash table. And then I should be able to use a function like this where I could use that qualified name in order to be able to grab the data. So let's see if I could do that in 45 minutes. Probably not, but let's see. Do I want a pointer to the data? Yeah, let's do it. I'll tell you what, let's make it I usually do macros for this. So here's one thing for C. So in C++, you would have something like template type name T, T pointer asset manager get, and then you would pass in const character pointer. Well, I guess it's C, so we're doing a const string reference. Qualified name, and you would do all your stuff in order to get back this type. You can't do this in C, obviously, because you don't have templates, but you can use macros as a way to do templates, and I do this especially for things like hash tables. If you look up here, hash table declare. So I have to do this anytime that I want a new hash table, which seems kind of hacky, but it's really the only way that you can do this, because all it's doing is it's declaring, it's basically doing what C++ does. Whenever you do a template in C++, the compiler in the back end is actually generating all that code, and then it's compiling it in. So I'm doing the exact same thing, but it's explicitly done here. So you declare your hash table type with your templated parameters, and then all this gets generated as new information that gets compiled. So that's what I'm doing here. Instead of this template type name T, instead we're doing something like this, which is, you declare the template in there, and then we could do our function, which will be templated. It's the exact same thing. But for now, we're going to do explicit. And we can still use the macro define later in order to handle all this. Let's look at the chat real quick. On Windows, it's a pain to set up OpenGL. It can be. All right, and really the issue is that your platform layer and your graphics layer are going to be really intertwined when it comes down to how you set up your graphics context. So I recommend, like, if you follow the handmade way of doing things, like specifically for Windows, he wants you to write your platform layer yourself and then go through that. I think it's useful to learn how to do that. But if you're kind of a newcomer, new beginner, and you just want to get something up and running, I'd use something like GLFW or even SDL. I think GLFW is easier, honestly, but there's not as much functionality as what SDL will give you, and SDL is more tried and tested. More games and more applications use SDL than something like that. If you don't like that, use GS. Yeah, sure. And I think Ethan's the one that's actually working right now. What do you think's the best OpenGL library? Depends on what you mean by that, man. I only use overloaded functions, half a dozen templates, compiler slow. Yep, exactly. What kind of scripting environment do you plan on using? C. For InJon, I use C++, and I liked it. It's compiled and not as, it's compiled, it's not interpreted, so it's not slow. But it's also, I guess, a pain for people to use. So if anything, could use something like Python, honestly. He's talking about Gunslinger. So this is using Gunslinger. So all this GS texture, GS result, all this kind of stuff. It's a framework that I've worked on. I'll give you a link. There you go. Enjoy. So let's actually, before we do this, like GLFW. Yeah, GLFW is a platform layer, but it's, like I said, your platform layer is it's how you interface with the graphics layer. You have to create a context. You have to create an OpenGL context, and your platform is totally dependent on how you do that. GLFW is an abstraction for your platform layer, and it'll create the context for you, given certain things. So yeah, use GLFW. I mean, there's enough resources for it now. It's been out enough, and it's easy enough to get started. I think it's like 100 lines in order to get an OpenGL context up and a window going. So, yep. I don't think it can be much easier. So let's do. Tell you what we could do is do slot array handles. Huh. See, this is what I'm trying to decide on how I actually want to set up the asset management, because I don't want to just do pointers, because pointers are very weak. And internally for the asset, or for the hash table, it's just an array of data. So if that array grows, then those pointers become invalidated. But this is why something like, tell you what I should do. I should create a slot map. So right now I have slot arrays as a container. And what these are is an indirection. It's a double indirected array. So it gives you back a U32, which is just an index, into a handle array, and that handle actually points you to the actual data. So it's 2 lookups instead of 1, but it's still O of 1 for the operation. What I could do is define a slot map where the handle is actually a, let's see, in this case it would be a U64. I think I might do that. Oh man, I need to go in here and actually define that. All right. What would a slot map need? It needs deal with C takes a special kind of, man, I like C a lot. I think like even writing this kind of hurt my soul a little bit, right? Like I don't think I can go back to that. I just like how straightforward C is. Like at work, I use Java and Kotlin for all of production code that we do, because we do a lot of Android stuff, and it kills me every time. I enjoy C a lot. Slot map. So I think let's just do this. Let's just work on containers today, because I'm going to need a slot map. Because here's the way it's going to work. I'm going to define a slot map, and then it's going to be for the asset manager. It's actually going to be this instead of just a raw hash table. It's actually going to be a GS slot map of GS texture T U64. Okay, so the key that's going to be hashed is this 64-bit integer. That's going to be a lookup that I'm going to use into this GS texture. And it should be really simple to define, actually, because let's see, slot map T, it's going to have hash table T, or hash table. I need to go through and fix all that. It's going to be U64 to, let's like, some T type, or it could be key value. So actually it's going to be a U32. So yeah, so you'll define some key for this. The type is going to be U32 for the value. You define what the key is. You have to pass in the hash function for that key, and then the comparator for that, and then that'll give you back. Yeah, so let's do this. I can probably define this right here just to test it. GS. So key, let's see, key value. Yeah, pretty much everything's going to be. So a hash function and then hash comparator function. I haven't worked with C in decades now. Yeah, I love C, guys. If you get a chance to do, like I've been doing more and more Android projects. Not Android, Arduino projects. Like I have a couple things I've been working on that I haven't really told anybody about. See if they actually pan out as being possible business projects. And it's all C, you know. It's fun. Microcontroller code's fun. And it's useful. So. Yeah, I haven't kept up with any of the 2020 standards because it's just more crap that they throw on top of it. Iterator type, slot map, and type is going to be oh, that's my iterator. Key value. C99 is as far as I go. C11 and C99 barely support. It supports almost all features that I'm interested in. So I only do features that are supported across MSVC, GCC, Clang. I don't do anything that's not supported on those. So MSVC is typically the limiting factor in that. Yes. slot array. So I'm gonna have to. All right, this is gonna assume that this this value type is defined. I'll call that data. Now let's call it slot array. So we have a slot array, and then we're gonna have a GS hash table. C11 and C7. Okay, cool. I'm surprised. Key value hash function, hash comparator function. Oh no, just a key value. What we're gonna declare. Hash table key value slot array. I'm gonna need all this. Oh man. Let's just do that. I don't want iterators yet. I don't need it. I really just want an insert function. If I even need that. Victor. Yeah, I have the Vim plugin for Sublime. I just get around faster using it. At least I think I do. Maybe not. So, indirection map, slot array, insert function. I don't really need to return a. Well, do I? Slot. Yeah, I do, because that insert. I don't need to do any of this. That's okay. All right, so sm.slot array. And this is just the value type. send dot in direction map. GUIs and editors. Do you mean making them, Ratchet? Because I've used C and C++ for both, and just depends. For InJown, I used C++. That was because it was all IMGUI based. This editor actually will use C++. As you can see, it's compiling for C++ because it's all going to be IMGUI code. But it's going to use the only C++ paradigm stuff is going to be the IMGUI calls. Everything else for mine is going to be C. I need this insert function. I don't know why I'm doing this. Let's see, S pointer slot array, and then val. Insert func. This actually needs and then for the indirection map, and we'll insert the key, and then we'll insert the handle. And I don't think I need to return anything. Doesn't really matter, because you're just going to use the indirection map anyway. So let me change this. Unknown type GS SAV. Oh yeah. Let's see. Is this good? It should work. Let me see. Yeah. If I'm not writing my own immediate GUI, but these days, it takes too much time for very little return, honestly. Yeah, that should work. That should work. Yeah, good point. But this is, I actually don't like C++'s hash map implementation because it uses closed addressing instead of open, or I have that other way around. I always forget those two. It uses a linked list instead of a flat array, so cache line gets killed pretty easily with that. The one that I use has a flat array as the data backend, so you can iterate through a flat array. So it's a lot faster that way. The lookups are faster as well. Does the trick for me. It's fast enough usually. Yeah, sure. It just doesn't scale well. And then they don't have anything with slot maps or slot arrays, so you have to write those anyway. So the only thing, what's up, Dindy? The only thing that is kind of redone container-wise is the dynamic array, and this is ripped straight from Sean Barrett's stretchy buffer implementation, and that's just so you can have a typed array. But everything else is, you know, whatever. Oh, there we go. That's why. That's why. $54. Okay. Lead asset manager 94. How do you implement strings in C? Just const character pointers, or just do like a character buffer. I really have little need for dynamic strings, which I think if you think about it, most applications have very little need for dynamic strings. Join the Discord, and you can post it there. Which, let me do that. Yeah, give me a second. There you go. Yeah, I think this is all I need for the slot map, because the yeah, and then for, let's see, oh, you don't have to do that, man. I could just do like containers, slot array get. Oh, we'll have to do that. All right. T pointer. You can put it in your community, in the community stuff, man. I don't care. Pretty open. Slot map get. So you're gonna pass in the key, and then that's pretty much it. No, you gotta pass in the slot map. Can I, hold on, what am I doing? Can I do this with S key? What are you currently working on? I'm working on a sprite editor. I need a sprite sheet editor for some videos that I have planned for. I want to do recreating first levels for retro games and then show everything that goes into that. So the first one that I'm planning on doing is Contra 3, because I was able to find sprite rips from that, and then some of the music as well I can get. So I think I can do majority of the first level just by using those assets. I might have to do some art for some other stuff, but oh well. Slot map get. So you should be able to pass in the slot map, pass in a key, and I should be able to grab the data from this, and this is just going to be getting it directly. So it should be s dot in direct, so gs, oh, this is gonna be ugly, sorry, gs hash map get, because it's gonna give me my u32 indirection map, the key, that gives me the key s dot that's not that bad, right? S dot slot array. Oh, there's my buzzer. I might have to end the stream here pretty soon. But like I said, I'm gonna try and do this every day. The time is tentative. I actually started pretty late today. I'd like to do it earlier. That way I have some more time instead of just an hour. So I'll probably start earlier tomorrow, just so I have more time to actually work on stuff. But if this compiles, then I think we're golden. Yeah, thank Uniday. He was like, do an hour a day, see where that gets you, and that's a good recommendation. So I'm gonna keep myself to a schedule and try to do that. So work out in the morning and then jump on this. So that's the plan. Okay, and that's just the I'm GUI. So what we should be able to do now, dudes, is define a slot map. And it's going to be a U64 GS texture T. I also need to define a slot array. So we define our slot array, that way the slot map can use it. And then we're going to use a 64 hash. Key. Ah, well, this should be it, man. That should be all I need, because it's just using an existing hash map to define the key for this. Oh, okay. So I already have this decal up here. So maybe I should do that as well. I don't know. Hello, bitmap. All right, got 10 minutes. Let's see if I can do it. US64 GS texture T insert func slot map decal. Start from insert func. Do I even need the insert func? Yes. Let's see what your problem is. And yeah, yay fam, I could totally just do it with what I have, but I want this slot map. I think it'll add a lot. So I'm doing it. Use 100 64 GS texture T. For some reason it doesn't like this. Let me go ahead and do this instead. Yeah, I'm gonna add a slot map. Right now I'm just doing like a test thing. But whereas a slot array, you don't get to decide what the key is. It's a U32 and it gives you back a handle as a U32 and then you use that. This could be you actually define the key and then you get to use that to indirect into the slot array, which is going to be useful for an asset management system. And as gnarly as these macro errors are, like if this was a template, I wouldn't even be able to get through this. Template errors are much more gnarly. So it's not liking this function declaration. I'm not sure why. SMK. Did I not declare it up here right? I don't know. I might have to debug this off stream. all fine. Oh, I don't need this. That might have been all. Nope. Still complaining about it. All right. For some reason it just doesn't like this. I don't know why. It's pissing me off. That should be fine. Hash table insert, direction map. This might just because of this. All right, well, I'm gonna have to end the stream. Got a work meeting coming up, so I will be back on tomorrow, and I think I'll have this slot map done by then. I'm gonna look at what's going on with it, and then can continue working on the sprite editor. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Check the, if you're not in the Discord, check the link to it, to the description of this. And should be a link in there if you want to join the Discord. All right. See y'all tomorrow.